Hello there, and then welcome to a brand new video. This is Hub Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. In this lesson, we are looking at multiplication using distributive property. In the previous one, which I do hope you have been able to go over, we looked at halving and then doubling. This time around, we are using the distributive property to multiply. Without much I say, let's quickly go into it. Now, when we talk of the distributive property, what comes to mind? This property is very simple. And all it says is, if you have A that is multiplying B plus C, all you have to do is to take A and use it to multiply B, and also take A and use it to multiply C. What this means is your evaluation becomes A times B, then plus your A times C as well. Now, you should take note that it doesn't work only for multiplication, but also work for subtraction. So if you have A and you are multiplying it by B minus C, once again, your A multiplies your B and then it multiplies your C. So that by so doing, you are going to get A times your B, then minus A times C. So how do we apply this property to solve multiplication problems? Let's look at how that works. So for the first couple of examples, we'll look at how to apply it in addition. This first example says you have to evaluate 7 times 13 using the distributive property. How do you go about it? So first of all, if you have your 7 times 13, your 7 still remains as it is, right? Then you rewrite the 13 in its expanded form. Okay, so 13 in its expanded form is 10 plus 3. You see, so with this, you can clearly see the distribution over here. And what that means is this 7 here would come and multiply the 10, and it will also multiply the 3 as well. And then you add or you find the sum of these two multiplications. So we have our 7 times 10 and then plus 7 times 3. Okay, so 7 times 10 gives us a 70, then plus 7 times 3, which gives us a 21. If you have to add this, we have a 91, and it's a very straightforward method, you see. So all we are saying is, if you want to use the distributive law or property, know how to expand numbers. Okay, so if you know how to expand the number into its various values, you just distribute the 7 over it, or whatever you are using to multiply, distribute it over it. Let's look at some few more examples, and subsequently we'll look at the one that has to do with subtraction. So for this second one, as you can see on the screen, it says you have to solve for 12 times 13 using our distributive property. So our solution, we have 12 times 13. With this, as we did earlier on, you can choose to use your halving and doubling. But for the sake of this study, we want to use a distributive. Okay, so we can rewrite. So then, writing in expanded form, as I'm saying, we'll have 12, then times the 13 now will be the sum of the values, or we are writing in expanded form. So that is a 10 plus 3. You see, then what we do now is we distribute the 12 over these numbers. Okay, so with that in mind, we have 12 times 10, and then plus a 12 times what? 3. As simple as that. You know what your 12 times 10 will give you. So 12 times 10, you have a 120, plus the 12 times your 3, all right, which gives us a 36. So with that in mind now, all we need to do is to add the 120 to the 36, which gives us a 120. 50 what? So 156. Okay. So this here is our final answer. Now let's look at some few examples that would need us to use subtraction. So looking at this example here, it says you should solve for 18 times 19 using the distributive property, right? So we have 18 times 19. Under normal circumstances, we would have written 18 times, you have your 10 times plus 9, you see? So the 10 plus 9. Well, if you solve this, you get the answer all right. But if you want to use a subtraction form, you can then, so instead of this now, we are actually going to use 18 times into bracket 10 plus 9, or the 19 can be written as 20 minus 1. You see, that is also 9, what do you call it, 19. And it doesn't change the value. 19, which is 10 plus 9, can also be written as 20 minus 1. The reason why you would prefer this than the 10 plus 9 is that in this case, you are going to multiply 18 by a 2. Then you just add a 0, and then 18 by 1. But over here, you'll be multiplying 18 by 10 and then by 9. So you actually want to take the easiest one among the two. Okay. Nevertheless, both are the same and you get the same answer. So 18, distributing 18 over the bracket, we have 18 times 20, then minus 18 times 1, just as we have always done. 18 times 20, you can just do 18 times 2, which is 36. Then you add your 0, then minus 18 times 1, which is your 18. So your subtraction problem, your multiplication problem has now become a very simple subtraction problem. And we know 360 minus 18 will give us a 342. And this here is the answer to what? 18 times 19. All right. Let's pick one last example and then I'll give some exercises. So once again here, we have to evaluate 125 times 48 using the distributive property. So we have 125 times 48, which can be written as 125 times into bracket 40 plus 8, but we want to use a subtraction. So we have 125 times, instead of 48, we'll rewrite it as 50 minus 2. And 50 minus 2 actually gives us 48, you see. Then we do what? We distribute the 125 over the bracket so that we are going to get 125 times 50. Then our subtraction comes minus 125 times what? Your 2. So 125 times 50, you can just evaluate 125 times 5. If you know your powers of 5, you can easily do this. So we have 625 and then your 0 minus 125 times 2 gives us what? A 250. So you realize once again that your complex multiplication problem has become a very simple subtraction problem, which is 6,250 minus 250. And if you have to evaluate that, you simply get your 6,000. As simple as that. So this ends our lesson on distributive property, that is using the distributive property to evaluate multiplication problems. I'll leave some exercises you can try on your own. So here are two of the questions, two sets. The first one, they are just direct practical problems. 14 times 12 all the way to 99 times 18. And over here, you have word problems you can also use to test your understanding. This is Hub Beyond Numbers, where we learn maths the easy way. If this lesson was helpful, you can always choose to subscribe If it is your first time and you so do wish, like or also comment in the comment section. I do hope it was helpful. See you in our next lesson. Bye for now. Stay blessed.